It was back in June of 2022 when we began work on a custom LEGO Nether dimension to go alongside the larger overworld. Since Minecraft's 1.16 update, there are 5 unique biomes in the Nether. The classic Nether Wastes, the Crimson Forest, the Warped Forest, the Soul Sand Valley, and the Basalt Deltas. It's been my dream to bring them all to life in LEGO bricks. Today we're going to try and finally get the Hot Tourist Destinations achievement. So hey, let's get to building. When I started this project, it made the most sense to me to begin with the Nether Wastes, the biome that, for the longest time, was the only one to be found in the Nether. In some ways, it's one of the simplest biomes in the game, being made up of pretty much just one block, netherrack. Glowstone, quartz ore, gold ore, and of course lava adds some variety to the barren landscape. But it's the terrain generation by far that is the most interesting. It would appear there's no rules to abide by in the Nether, and I really wanted to bring that wackiness to the LEGO build. There were a few other ideas I had to spice up the old biome too, including lights beneath the lava, adding a portal that can easily be turned on and off, and bringing in some mobs to bring the place to life. The Nether Wastes are populated with some old pigmen, since LEGO hasn't given us an updated version yet, a magma cube, a blaze, and some piglins. For the most part, the build has aged pretty well, but there's one thing I'd like to revisit: the lava fall. You see, back in 2022, I couldn't quite figure out how to make it light up, but things have changed, and 20 plus modules later, I have a few new tricks up my sleeve. So let's crack this build open and give it a bit of a facelift. The secret to getting the lights inside the lava fall is building the whole thing sideways. Another plus of this design is that it better replicates the look found on the surface of the lava lake below. It's a relatively small change, but it has a big effect. Later in 2022, by popular demand, I began constructing what would become one of my all-time favorite modules, the Warped Forest. The build began with a footprint of 16 by 16 studs, or the equivalent of 8 by 8 blocks in Minecraft. That's half the size of the Nether Wastes, but I had big plans for this one. In order to capture that zany Nether terrain generation, the goal was to make the build as tall as possible, branching out at the top like the cliffs were a tree too. Adding the various Nether flora was especially fun. The color dark turquoise, which I've used as the accent color for the Warped Forest, has a rather interesting history at LEGO. It was originally introduced in 1998 in a sub-theme of Technic called Competition, and then it was popularized with its inclusion in Rock Raiders in 1999. Then the color was discontinued, rather dramatically, when designer Mark Stafford was forced to decide its fate when making his first LEGO set for the company, Exoforce's Dark Panther. He could make the model either in dark purple or in dark turquoise. The color he didn't choose would be axed completely. Mark chose to design the model in dark purple, and turquoise was out of the picture. Until, that is, in 2018 when the color triumphantly returned in Downtown Diner, the year's modular building. If it had never returned, it would have been quite tricky to make this module. Kinda like how I try to build modules out of, sand red. Parts like the clips used for the warped roots or the teeth here used in the warped vines simply never existed before the color's reboot. The Warped Forest module remains one of the tallest in the entire display, including the overworld, and might just be the most striking part of the whole LEGO Nether. It connects right up against the original Nether Wastes module, and I love how the two look next to each other. I wouldn't return to the Nether then for quite some time. The next addition to the lineup wouldn't happen until June of 2023, and that was with the Basalt Deltas. I kept pushing the build off because I honestly dreaded building it as much as I dread having to traverse the biome in-game. I decided to go with the official LEGO technique to create the basalt blocks, using this textured 2x2 brick that originally showed up in Kingdoms back in 2010. There it was used functionally to help guide the portcullis into place, but more often these days it's just used as a decoration brick. I spent a few months stocking up on hundreds of them to make these deltas as imposing as could be. Like the previous two modules, I made sure to light all the lava throughout the build too. And as I continued to build, I began enjoying and appreciating the strange biome more and more. I enjoyed it all to such an extent actually that I was quite disappointed when I ran out of the 2x2 bricks that were essential for creating the terrain. So here now, all this time later, I've been able to build up my stash again, and I can add some of the height I've always wanted to. My favorite part of the build though? this jumping magma cube. Now over halfway done with the quest to create all the nether biomes, I was pretty eager to get on to the next module, the Crimson Forest. The build was completed a few months later in November of 2023 and would be the largest addition to the nether display. With the success of the warped forest, there was a lot of pressure to do the second forest justice too. To make things more interesting, I decided to use a nether fortress as a backdrop to the module, a tall, intimidating silhouette of one of the structure's towering bridges. Sweetening the pot was the addition of 2 custom mobs, a baby and adult hoglin, now pretty much rendered irrelevant thanks to the new epic official design introduced in the latest LEGO Minecraft Nether Portal ambush set. Like the warped forest, crazy terrain and a lot of verticality became an integral part of this build. It was in this build too that I gave the glowing lava falls a shot, and it worked out quite well. One thing I did mess up on in this module though is that I simply forgot to add shroom lights. Thankfully, that's a real quick fix. Unlike the other 3 biomes, this one didn't end up connecting though. Rather, it left a space in between for the last biome on our checklist, the Soul Sand Valley. I hope you don't mind, but I've decided to keep this one short and sweet, fitting all the essentials of this biome into a tidy 16 by 16 stud space. There's your tiles, of course. Soulfire, ominous bone structures, and some pesky skeletons scattered about too. The highlight of this module, rather, would be above. The nether up until this point has been missing one of its most iconic mobs, the Ghast. The official LEGO version of the Ghast is pretty good, and the shooting feature built into it is a lot of fun. But the 6 by 6 by 6 stud measurements don't quite do the size of the actual in-game mob justice. So here I've created a brand new custom 8 by 8 by 8 stud flying tentacle head instead. And don't worry, I'll be giving you a tutorial on how you can build your own next week. Or you can just buy one off my mom's Bricklink store too. The link for that will be in the description. With a few quick customizations, I found that the collapsing fortress bridge of the Crimson Forest was strong enough to support the weight of the nearly 300-piece Ghast, meaning that he could fly above the Soul Sand Valley. So let's bring the whole display together for the first time. All 5 nether biomes accurately built in LEGO. At its tallest point, not counting that blaze because that blaze is definitely cheating, the build reaches over 20 inches tall. From edge to edge, it stretches over 3 feet across. Kinda crazy to think that this is just a side project to the much larger overworld build. Who even knows how big that one is now? Perhaps one day I'll return to add in that bastion, but as it stands now, I'm very happy with this nether display. I'm so thankful to the many people who supported this project monetarily, and to all those who left encouraging comments while this project came to life. If you want to see more on how the build came together, there's over 45 minutes of content exclusively about the Minecraft Nether display, and I've linked that in a playlist down below too. In the next episode, we'll be building another highly requested module, and that's the Dark Oak Forest. In previous episodes, we've tackled all different types of trees, including swamp trees, oak, birch, cherry, savanna, and others, and the most obvious exclusion at this point is the dark oak. Quite honestly, this is one of my favorite additions to the display yet, and if you want to watch that episode early, you can do so by becoming a channel member. Signing up also continues to help me to produce these videos. But anyway, that's all I've got for this time. Have yourself a great life. I'll see you later.